Hey there, I'm Heintzel, and welcome back to another Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach Ruin video. So today's video is part one of explaining every single room in Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach. Now, I just linked a video in the description below to the part one of this video for Security Breach, the main game. And in today's video, I will also be exploring those exact same rooms. So you might be wondering, which rooms are those? Well, that'll be the ruined daycare section and the ruined lobby, as well as a few extra new rooms that we get to see. So yeah, that will be the main part of this video, is explaining and exploring those rooms in ruin. So to start off, let's head into the main lobby and take a quick look at what has happened to the Pizzaplex. So if it isn't obvious already, the Pizzaplex is ruined, pun intended. And yeah, it's just not in the state we saw it in Security Breach. So we don't exactly know how much time has passed since Security Breach or the gameplay of Security Breach, but we are told by the newspapers that cover the windows that an earthquake has devastated the Pizzaplex. It's also likely a few fires were caused by that earthquake because we see burnt remains everywhere. But yeah, we aren't exactly sure, especially since Ruin tells us that the Vanny ending, or the true ending, if you want to call it that, with the Princess Quest arcade games is the canon ending. So that's interesting, because in that ending there isn't a fire. There are two endings that end with fire, but the one that's true doesn't have a fire, so that is interesting. But there's several theories about the earthquake. It's likely it was just an earthquake, that what the game devs wanted to find a way to ruin the Pizzaplex, and they found it because this place is destroyed. But yeah, anyways, let's get back to the actual part. So we're in the main lobby here, and this is where everyone would enter the Pizzaplex when they're coming in for the day. And in Security Breach, it was very well lit, very nice atmosphere. Now it's completely different, right? Everything is blocked up, pieces of the floor are gone. We can see into the basement of the Pizzaplex that we've never got to see before, and it's so strange to see it like this. I can't tell if I like it or hate it, because I really did like the main game. And there's a popcorn machine over there to the right. That little garage door, that would be the parking, if we could go over there. So the main parking was connected to the lobby. Sadly, we don't ever get to see that, but possibly in a future game, if we're really into parking. But who cares for now? Alright, so let's grab this flashlight. Similarly, in Security Breach, there was the same cardboard cutout with a gift box that contained, I believe it was an entry pass, but here they just replaced it with a flashlight because they knew the player would know where to go. So yeah, over here to the right, there's not much besides the parking. And we're now going to be entering, which is supposed to be the exit, as you can see by the signs there. And we'll head into our first store. So if you don't know, again, I recommend watching that video on Security Breach already, because I explain these rooms. But the right side room is called Glamrock Gifts, and it is a gift shop. However, on the left side, there is a restaurant called the Fast Pad. We don't get access to that in Ruin, only Security Breach. And yeah, it is really cool place. So if you watch the video, you'll know that it didn't look like this. There was a lot more stuffed animals and memorabilia. But now everything's been ravaged, stolen, looted, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, there's not much left. As you can see, there's a Freddy, and here's a cool little voice line.
Cool.
Yeah, so I actually didn't know about that voice line. A little secret I saw. I'm not sure in which video it was, but someone was playing through Ruin and they mentioned it. Very cool little Easter egg there. So yeah, we can also see the free mystery box that we had to open in Security Breach there to our left now. But yeah, there are a lot of cool small details, like this little Roxy plush that remains up here. And yeah, you can see into it. If you don't know, there also was a kind of glitch in Security Breach where this ceiling right here was supposed to be gone, but it wasn't. It was still there. And then if you go up here to the top part, you can look down through the ceiling. I think they boarded that up in Ruin, so I don't know if they're canonically saying that it did exist, but it looked there to be a concrete floor, so not really sure if they even addressed that issue in Ruin. So yeah, ignoring that ATM trying to fall on us, we're going to come up here into the top part of Glamrock Gifts. Another really cool section, honestly. I'm loving how it looks, the purples. Again, that is Ruin's main color, and it really shows it off with the amount of graffiti and random purple objects. And I guess purple is symbolic in Five Nights at Freddy's. You know what of. I'm not going to have to say. But, purple's a big color here. So this is what I was talking about. In the main game, you could actually look down into the bottom part of the Pizzaplex. But now it's gone, so I don't know what is canon. I don't know if it's canon if you look down and there is a gap there, or if there wasn't. So I guess that's the big question all you FNAF theorists are asking, right? Was there glass there or not? Alright, there's the daycare. There's a little sneak peek and we'll be exploring in the future. But for now, we're not able to go through there, unlike Security Breach, because the game wants us to go around. Now, technically, if you follow the game in a linear fashion, you're going to go through some areas that I'm going to skip over because we'll be covering those in future videos. But here's our first look at the Pizzaplex from an above-ground view. We can see the Freddy statue, or what's left of it, being his feet. And this is a really cool view, honestly. Oh, I just noticed you can see the stars in the arcade room, which we haven't explored that yet. So maybe that'll come in Ruin's sequel, which I'm sure we're all waiting for. And then over there is the fast pad, which again, we don't get access to. Now, since we are explaining all these rooms, we get to our first new part, ignoring Gregory, that being the elevator shaft. So in Security Breach, we weren't really sure how the elevator worked, because it kind of felt like the elevator was just a way for the game to load in. So you'd get in the elevator and you would stay on the same story. However, Ruin tells us that the elevator is indeed going up. That meaning the main atrium is above the lobby, and especially the lobby's second floor. Very, very strange. I don't know if that means that the lobby is kind of below ground. They built it below ground with excavation, and that the main part, the main atrium, is above ground. But again, not entirely sure. It is a really cool detail, and we do not get to see this elevator shaft in in Security Breach. So it is cool to see some new rooms. We're also going to get a very cool new vent up here, because I know you guys are very excited about new vents. But yeah, we get to take a look inside the elevator shaft, which is quite big, honestly, very big. And yeah, this would technically lead to the atrium. Again, though, everything is broken. And if we follow that vent, which we will not be following, it would lead us into a back kitchen in the atrium, which again we'll be saving for part 2, because we'll be exploring the atrium in part 2, the ruined atrium. So hit that subscribe button. But like I said, we won't be exploring this because we're going to be heading straight into the daycare. Now, to get to the daycare, we actually have to hit a few new rooms that I want to cover, that being underneath the Pizzaplex. I guess this is another part of the utility tunnels that we don't get to see in Security Breach. So very cool, very, very cool little reference here. So let's head on down here. Eventually we're going to see the blob, but this staircase shows us how decimated the Pizzaplex is. Not really sure what that would be. I guess that would be in the atrium. Never mind. I apologize. But if we head down these stairs, we can see how destroyed this place has got. You can see rubble has destroyed the staircase railing. It's been rusting away, which is very interesting. So I really do question how long it's been between Ruin and Security Breach, because by the way, there's the blob, because everything is really just taken out. There's also a few animatronic parts down here. I believe that's supposed to be a staff bot and an endoskeleton leg, but it almost seems a little too skinny, so maybe I'm wrong. Let me know what you guys think. I mean, we know legs are symbolic of the mimic because of what happened to its legs, so possibly a reference, possibly. And we'll head down here again. I'm pretty sure we don't get to see this in Security Breach, and that being control boards. We do hear the main monitor guy, so I guess this is the control boards for the sound at the Pizzaplex. Kind of strange it's down here with the water treatment center, but maybe in a cleaner state it would make a lot more sense. So as you can see, everything is pretty much ruined. But there are control boards, what's left of them. A few of them are sparking. Some audio stuff still working. I do think this is a really cool area. I would have loved to see more like this. I don't know why, I just love this style of underneath. It looks very practical and futuristic, which is both what Security Breach, main vibes are. Practical, futuristic, and, scary. So as we head back here, we can see that some of the water is still flowing. There's a plushie stuck in there, and you can see the gross water. The water will be a little bit more important in a second. Now up here, we can actually look into some servers. This might be the server room we see in the basement in front of the main kitchen with Chica. Not entirely sure, but if we did conclude that that was the server room, that would put these tunnels under the basement, which, we're just adding more layers to the Freddy Fazbear burger we already have. Now over here, we can see more water, and there's, to the right, is the pipe Monty's in right now, and then there's more, sewage water, drainage water, whatever you want to call it. We can't actually go over there, but that would be really cool. Very cool atmosphere. And then over here to the right of the fence would be further utility tunnels that look very much clean compared to the rest of the game. But again, we don't actually get access to those, sadly. It looks like we could crawl into there, but we can't. So let's finally get the game started with this intro. I hope you guys enjoyed that intro, because we're now back in a very new room. So this storage room, or loading dock room, whatever you want to call it, was not seen in Secure Breach. This is a Ruin exclusive room, and unlike the rest of Ruin, it's honestly pretty clean. Like, it wasn't really touched by the earthquake, which is really cool. I think if you put this game into Secure Breach, I know there's several mod packs, like, where people are adding rooms to the Pizzaplex, which I think is great. I would love to see a sequel to Security Breach where everything is still, intact. I doubt we'll ever get that in the mainline series, but that'd be really cool. But anyways, this main room is definitely storage and extra loading docks. Again, there are loading docks in the basement, in the back to the kitchen. If you know what I'm talking about, in the basement of the Pizzaplex, there's a kitchen where you see Chica a lot, and there's a back room with the loading docks where we can actually leave to get the good ending in Secure Breach. However, it seems there are also loading docks, at least 2 of them over here. So I guess Freddy just said, screw us, you're going to the basement the hard way if you want to try to get out of here. But it's fine, Freddy. It's fine. We all love you. And here's a Nightmare Yone plushie. So, little fun fact, we just had a discussion about that in my Discord. Link's right up there, so I would go check it out. Because if you want to talk to me about lore, game help, or, want future updates on videos, that all gets posted right there. And I just made that, so, you'll be the first few followers. So you'll definitely get to talk to me more if you're interested. Just go follow there. I definitely recommend it. So yeah, anyways, we have to actually do this quick puzzle. But this is a very neat room that we don't get to see. And it really connects a bunch of the Pizzaplex together. It mostly segues us from Monty Golf to the Daycare, because we don't really have a nice way to do that naturally. So they kind of had to do this, but it is cool. We also get to see another little back room here with a Fizzy Faz machine, like that with Monty there. We see something similar to that in Help Wanted, if you know what I'm talking about, with the food prep minigames and Chica. It looks just like this. So, check that out. Really cool. And now we're going to head into what appears to be a security office. Kind of strange, because this will be a very weird placement for a security office, because there's no actual access to the Daycare, which is what this is looking into, unless there was a door that's just covered by rubble, which is, possible. But next, we're going to hop through this wall, and that will segue us into part 2 of this video, which you already know is the Daycare. So yeah, we are now here at the Ruined Daycare. Now, again, a lot of this video ties in with the part 1 of explaining every room in Security Breach, which is why I'm covering the Daycare in the main lobby. But anyways, in that Security Breach video, I explained how the Daycare kind of has 3 parts. There's a bottom part, right, of the Daycare that contains the play set and a little arcade. And then there's a top story, which has the entrance and sort of the entrance to the Fazbear Theater, which is the 3rd part, the Fazbear Theater. We'll get to explore all of those except for the top part in Ruin. It's kind of weird that the top part isn't really brought up. I guess there's not much up there except for party rooms, so maybe it just wasn't that interesting. I'm fine with that. We also don't get to enter the arcade right here, the little Fazcade to the right, because all the arcade machines are pulled out. I know it would have been really cool if they would have let us go in there, but no, because I guess not. It is weird, though, because that section, that little arcade I'm referring to, isn't really that important to Secure Breach. There's nothing even in there. There might be a gift, but I don't even think there's a gift in there. So it is strange. We also see all these Endoskeletons, which I believe is just foreshadowing to the Endoskeleton section we're about to get at the end of the Daycare. I'm not really sure why the Endoskeletons were moved here, because we're not above the Endoskeleton warehouse. But for whatever reason, I guess Fazbear thought it was smart to bring all of the Endoskeletons over here. So now we're going to make our way into the playset. Now, unlike in the Secure Breach video, which I made rules for, one of my rules I made was that I couldn't enter I couldn't re-enter sections that the game wouldn't allow you to re-enter after a first playthrough. So in Security Breach, you can actually enter the playset area of the daycare only once, that being at the start of the game. After that, you cannot enter that part of the daycare ever again. There used to be a glitch you could do with Freddy, and you could like glitch your way in through it, but they somehow patched that. So sadly, that won't be happening again. I think they patched it because it led to a sequence break. It's all gaming stuff, you know what I'm talking about. Anyways, not important. But in today's video, this ruined video, we will actually get to explore the inside of the daycare, or what's left of it. So most of this part is a lot of broken pipes, and I don't know if you saw it in the security office earlier, but it's also the introduction to a new puzzle in Ruin, that being the security camera puzzle where you have to find the objects. Not really that important, just part of the gameplay. But anyways, going back to the video, we're going to head down the slide. Again, this part of the daycare wasn't that important because this is the ball pit section that we go into originally. However, as we can see, all of the balls from the ball pits have been sucked up and put into big crates. Now, this does kind of look similar to the FNAF 6 ball box, if you know what I'm talking about. I don't know if you're talking about what I'm talking about. There's one where like Helpy jumps into. That's not exactly what I'm referring to. I'm referring to like I think it's literally titled Discount Ball Pit, and you put it in there, and it has like a small revenue boost. I've never actually played FNAF 6. I need to. I play a lot of FNAF games, but not that one. Here, I'll actually put an image of what I'm talking about, so you can see what I'm referring to. But yeah, that's kind of what the ball pit crates kind of look like. Maybe that was on purpose, maybe not. But yeah, kind of cool. So anyways, we're going to make our way into the actual playset area. Eclipse is going to talk to us, mostly Sun, trying to convince us to fix him. Because I believe Sun wants control of the Eclipse body. Again, because Moon is hostile. We don't get to see much of Eclipse besides in this level. And I do need to bring up that the game mentions a lot that light is what hurts him. However, we don't really get to use that. I wonder if Eclipse was supposed to be walking around this section in the main idea for Ruin, and you'd have to stun him with your flashlight. Sadly, we don't actually get that kind of gameplay. Eclipse is really just not important here. And the entirety of the gameplay for the playset area is just kind of maze-like, and then you're finding those little security cameras to do the quick puzzles, which, in my opinion, Ruin's puzzles need a lot of work. I'm not a big fan of them, and it's way too linear of a gameplay. I love Security Breach's gameplay. I don't really understand the hate for that game, besides what it did to some of the story, right? It wasn't as coherent in the story of FNAF, but besides that, I love the gameplay. It's really fun. You can go wherever you want, basically. There's way more options. I just think Ruin's format is too linear. Okay, off of the rant, let's get back into the actual explaining of the rooms. Again, this would have been the main playset area of the Pizzaplex, where kids would be dropped off while their parents go and do other stuff, probably explore the Pizzaplex, ride the rides with older kids or whatever, while Sun and Moon and probably several other, employees would be watching the kids. I think more Sun and Moon were less of the actual daycare attendants, like less of actually just watching the kids, and more of being the entertainer of the kids. Like they'd play alongside them while there's actual employees here. I would note that there's a security office that we'll see, or a security desk, more like, we'll see here in a second, that would pertain to. So yeah, we actually get to wander through the playset a lot in this section. That's why I kind of mentioned it was maze-like. And we get to see a lot of a playset area in its ruined state. Again, the playset area wasn't a huge part in Security Breach. I think it was a section that a lot of people really liked because of the lights being off and Moon just being pretty creepy. I mean, Security Breach isn't overall really creepy. I think it's more fun than it is creepy. And I think that's fine. Like, Security Breach is pretty much the only game I can play with my little cousins, and they love it. Like, they're addicted to it. But I can't really show them the other games in this series because they're just too scary, which is fine. I completely understand. I understand why you'd want scary in FNAF, right? It's not meant to be a kid-friendly game. And I don't think Security Breach is kid-friendly. There's a lot of really creepy stuff. I just think that it is... I like the characters better, honestly. The Glam Rocks with Freddy allow for more personalized characters to the game that we don't really get to see in older FNAF games like FNAF 1 and FNAF 2, right? We get to see the animatronics. They just don't really have character or personality. But when Steel Wool made Security Breach, they really brought in these characters. And if you personally asked me, and you asked the fandom who they're most attached to, it's going to be the Glam Rocks, because they all each are given personality. Even in Ultimate Custom Night with some of the voice lines, right? It gives a small bit of personality to each character, but not enough that makes you fully attached. I think the only character most people are really attached to was the puppet and Circus Baby, and mostly because Circus Baby talks a lot. Like, she has a lot of personality. And even in FNAF 6, the puppet, its personality is saving the kids, which gives it a personality. But I don't know. Sorry about the Glam Rock rant here. I just think the Glam Rocks are really underrated. Great designs, by the way, too. Alright, so we're going to head down here. We're one step closer to fixing Eclipse, but not important because we're explaining the rooms. So over here you can see all the pipes that have broken and fallen. You can actually crawl through those. I don't think it's really important to the game. But yeah, the daycare section, at least the playset area, isn't that bad. There's like mostly removed parts. I believe Fazbear is probably going to sell a lot of this stuff. I don't know why they didn't, because they could definitely get away with it. But yeah, again, as you can see right there, there's electricity. So this place has electricity. Someone's paying the bills. Not entirely sure who it is, unless, Remnant Plex is real or whatever. But, no thoughts on that. Also, cool little coffee machine there. That might be a reference to the coffee pot in, what's it called? The Desolate Hope. Let me know if that's true, or I'm just making up connections here. Also, go check out my channel while we're here, because there's going to be so much more videos like this. Again, this is part 1 of a series, and there's going to be a bunch of new videos. I really have been getting more back into the grind of making videos. I'm going to have a new upload schedule, that being I release one video on Wednesday and one video on Sunday every week. Again, go to Discord or look at my community post, because I'm going to release on Monday. I'm going to call it Announcement Monday, where I release the names and titles of the 2 videos I'm going to be releasing for that week. So you can stay updated and get excited for future videos, future Heintzel videos. And if you want to talk about future videos, again, the Discord is free and we can always discuss there. I love talking to you guys. So let's avoid getting killed by mixes here and head back into the playset. This is the playset that I believe the pink wire would lead to in the Security Breach minigame, the Let There Be Light minigame, which is, again, really cool minigame, really cool minigame. Once you know the pattern to it, it's not very hard, because I know a lot of the light pattern in the that little minigame, Let There Be Light, which can be kind of hard, right? Especially for your first playthrough. Just running around, following these chords endlessly can be hard, but once you know the pattern, like you have a running pattern, it's pretty easy. Again, I made a video on that. It's quite old. I need to remake a few of the old Security Breach videos, because I used to record I'd set my camera on a tripod facing my TV, and I would edit that footage to be for my tutorials, and I'm pretty sure my daycare videos are like that, which I do not recommend. Definitely just take the video straight off the source. I just didn't know how to do that at the time, so I was playing on my PlayStation, and I still am playing on my PlayStation. So yeah, the video quality probably isn't great. The tutorial is still great, I'm sure, so go check that out. I'll link it in the description below. Or just check out the Security Breach playlist, which is also great. There's also a Ruined playlist, so all kinds of playlists. Also, I think it's kind of weird that sign is on, because it's not plugged up to anything. Again, it might be some kind of trick in Cassie's head because of the chip that was implanted to her by Helpy at the start of the game. We didn't see that in this video because, again, we skipped over Monty Golf. We'll be covering that in a future video, so, again, what is it called? Subscribing. Yeah, subscribing. Try that, guys. It's really fun, actually. If you click it, I think you get something called dopamine in your brain. So, give it a try. Here's a back view of the Freddy we saw stuck earlier. There's no reason they put this in here besides being more of a maze. I don't know why they even included that. They could have blocked that off easily. Same with this over here. It leads to a dead end. So not really sure why that's important. But it is, I guess, enough to be included in the game. So now we're going to head over here. We're going to turn on the last generator. And then all we need to do is fix Eclipse. And we can head into the third section, the Daycare Theater, which is really cool. So now we'll head over here. There's Eclipse himself. All we need to do now is fix him. Again, I'm trying to get a look above the daycare, but there's not much over there. It's very cloudy in here. So we're going to come over here, fix Eclipse. Not really sure why they haven't fixed the blurry thing there. It's really cool, but you can see the moon symbol on the back of his head, implying that there's different settings, right, for the switching of faces and all that. Really cool. The mechanics of Sun and Moon is very complicated, I'm sure, to have to switch their clothes and their face structure. Not really sure how that works, but it is cool. And again, Sun and Moon is likely flying here because of a cord on their back, not actually, floating. He's not Peter Pan. And now we're getting kicked out of the daycare, and we are going to go in to the daycare theater. Now, before we head into the daycare theater, we have to do this quick puzzle with the child and parent nodes, and we have to try and avoid these moving endoskeletons. And this section can be really annoying. I definitely recommend checking my tutorial out for this if you're stuck on this. But again, this isn't a tutorial video. This is more explaining every room. So over here, we have, I believe it's the Lucky Stars gift shop, which is the only gift shop in the daycare. And there is a gift in it in Security Breach. However, it's more needed in this game. And that's what I wish we could have seen more of, is making these rooms that there's only like one gift in or there's no gift in that aren't really important in Security Breach more important like this, because now you have to come in here, you have to explore it, and you have to pull down that child node, which is the sun plush. So very cool. There's also a sun statue and a moon statue right there. Again, you can see the forklift was in the action of removing it. Probably plans on selling it. I'm not really sure what the Pizzaplex, the company Fazbear, was planning on doing with the Pizzaplex after it's decommission. You want to call it that, decommission. So not really sure what they were planning on doing with it, but it looks like they were definitely removing stuff or in the process of removing stuff until something else happened. Or maybe nothing happened and they're just in the process of it while Cassie's here. So we'll do this quick conduit, and we'll pull down that child node, turn that off, and then finally we'll make our way. Again, you can see the endoskeletons are moving around because my camera is shaking. And yeah, we do not want to be killed by those guys. Again, this section can be a real pain in the butt. So head out here. They actually can't see us when our mask is on, but once our mask is off, they'll work like they do in Security Breach. Not really sure how that works, but maybe our Vanny mask has some kind of illusion on them. Maybe that's how Vanny gets around. I'm also assuming that this technician mask is not Vanny's. However, it is a technician mask, just not Vanny's technician mask, because we see Cassie's dad, right, give it to us in his staff form. Very strange how that even happens, how the bot even gets the mask in the first place, unless we're implying that it was the Vanny mask and that Vanny gave it to Cassie's dad, or Glitchtrap gave it to Cassie's dad as the new Vanny in Help 1 and 2, because I'm pretty sure, right, that is the canon ending. The canon ending is not Glitchtrap being destroyed because Glitchtrap makes an appearance in Ruin, right? Because the Helpies are fighting each other in Ruin, and obviously I believe one of those is Fiona and one of those is Glitchtrap. Again, let me know in the comments below if you think that's true or not. I think that'd be the best way to go. I hope they didn't destroy Glitchtrap, because I do believe that's M3. A theory on that will be coming out, I believe, this week, so check that out. It's a great theory, and I've been working pretty hard on it. So alright, so we're gonna head down here. We're now actually in the Daycare Theater, so get excited. The first thing we're gonna check out in the Daycare Theater, besides all this rubble and all of these endoskeletons, is Sun and Moon's room. Now, if you remember in Security Breach, this was a secret room you couldn't get to unless you flashed a bunch of cardboard cutouts to unlock it with the Fazcam. Again, full video on that. Check it out. This is basically one whole advertisement of a video. So basically, you should just subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because there's just so many good videos. That's why I can't stop referencing them. Anyways, going back up here, those doors we just entered into the Daycare Theater in Security Breach were locked by level 10 security badges, which, if you didn't know, are impossible to get in-game, so meaning they were never going to open. However, we do actually get to walk through them here in Ruin. So Ruin got to add some stuff like that. I'm referring to those doors right there. There's also a sun icon right there we'll have to use later with the camera puzzles. But, like I said, we're going to go upstairs to Sun and Moon's room, ignoring this ominous looking endoskeleton and passing Chica and friends from the cartoon and going straight over here to the right. So yeah, again, this is pretty similar to what Security Breach was. Now, if we went down that way, we don't get to see this in Ruin, but we could go down there, and that would be the makeup room. If you know what I'm talking about, the makeup room where all the stat bots, or not stat bots, all the endoskeletons are. Maybe they're implying that I just thought of this. Maybe all the endoskeletons we see in the daycare are moved from the makeup room to upstairs. And again, maybe the endoskeletons were down there in the first place because they were the performers for the stage. Hey, that's a new theory right there. Also, we don't get to see these portholes in the actual security breach game, but the AR mask implies that they were supposed to be there. So I guess they just lost that. Also, really cool ceiling with the AR mask, and yeah, like that. You can see Eclipse once in a while, which is really cool. And we actually can get access to the curtain over here, the curtain that leads outside, the one that we see Sun jump off of in Security Breach. We weren't able to get access to that in Security Breach, but we are in Ruin, which is really cool. We also will see that the Balloon World minigame, which we can play in Security Breach, has been destroyed. And yeah, I think the ceiling is really cool. That's very cool art of Eclipse there, and I don't know. I wish we could have seen more stuff like that. But yeah, sadly we can't actually look down or jump into the daycare. That would have been really cool. But maybe we'll see that later. Maybe. So yeah, this room was a really interesting in Security Breach because we get access to Balloon World, right, which is right here. We're still not entirely sure what Balloon World was meant to represent. We see Eclipse all the way back in Security Breach, but we're not entirely sure how that ties in, unless it's showing how Glitchtrap only has control of half of Sun and Moon, unlike with Monty, Chica, and Roxy, which is strange. It is strange. I think Glitchtrap can only. I don't know. Put your thoughts on that in the comments below. That would probably help me. Sun and Moon could have their whole own theory, especially because of their symbolism that we saw in Secret of the Mimic with Sun and Moon and Fiona. So again, I'm not entirely sure what those two are meant to represent. So now we're gonna head back down here and finish off the daycare and the daycare theater. Noticeably, the railing is now gone when in Ruin, which it was in Secure Breach. Kind of strange, and that whole hallway is kind of empty now. But we're gonna head over here, past the ominous Endoskeleton. I do believe those can move, but maybe I'm wrong. But we're not worried about that. We're just gonna go finish this final parrot node, which for some reason spawns a giant endoskeleton. Again, there's a lot of endoskeleton imagery popping up here, so we're gonna do this quick. I guess, sorry, this is not a parrot node. This is a camera puzzle. But once we do this camera puzzle, a giant endoskeleton, AR endoskeleton, will pop up on the main stage, and we'll have to climb into its mouth. So, interesting little detail there. I don't know why they chose so many endoskeletons to represent the daycare area. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, go join the Discord, subscribe for more videos like this, and I am about to get destroyed. So, I'll see you later.